Earlier this afternoon, I received a phone call from one of my good friends. We've known each other since high school, been friends for over 20 years. Now, normally when we see each other or when we talk on the phone, it's your typical guy stuff, but today the tone was completely different. He starts venting to me about how depressed he is. He explains that he and his wife got into a major heated argument this past weekend, and for the first time, he was contemplating divorce, even though in the back of his mind he knows he doesn't want to get a divorce. We've all been there before. He was telling me that he doesn't understand why he is feeling so depressed. Beautiful wife, adorable, healthy child. Both he and his wife have good jobs, good careers, plenty of money in the bank, boats, cars, pools, $500,000 home. His wife, she has been constantly complaining because she feels that he's not the same man that she married. He's blaming her for constantly being negative and complaining and bringing his mood down. During the beginning of this phone conversation, I'm thinking that my friend's got serious marital problems here. But then, he starts venting about his job. He's telling me how his bosses treat him and all their employees like complete shit. He's complaining about working 70, 75, 80 hours every week, but the company only pays him for 55 or 60 because they don't pay him for the drive time, the hours that it takes him to get from job to job. He then said something that really resonated with me because I've been there before. He told me that he starts dreading Monday morning on Friday morning. He set up a doctor's appointment for tomorrow to get his testosterone levels checked. Most of the symptoms that he's going through now are caused by low testosterone. But I told him, it ain't your testosterone. It's not your marriage. It's not your wife. Testosterone injections, it's not going to fix your problem. Marriage counseling, not going to fix your problem. Now, obviously, counseling wouldn't hurt, but not going to resolve your issue. I told him your biggest problem is your job, your employer. How do I know? Because I've been there before. When you are miserable at work, when you're in a toxic work environment, it spills into every other facet of your life. And I'm not talking about, I hate my job, I hate my boss. Everybody goes through that. I'm talking about reaching the point where you say, fuck it, I am done. The day I quit my job in June of 2021, happiest day of my life. I didn't have a backup plan. When I quit, this channel had, I think, 2,000 or 3,000 subscribers. I was making like $300 a month here on YouTube. But I had reached the point of no return. I had reached a point where I had had enough and I no longer cared. I would rather be broke and happy than chaining myself to a desk, working for some other motherfucker who wasn't paying me nearly enough to deal with their bullshit. Now, if we are to believe this latest report from the Rolling Stone, it appears that dozens of employees from The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, they have found themselves in the same predicament that my friend finds himself in now. If you were to ask random people to describe Jimmy Fallon, how do you think they would describe him? Goofy, jovial, happy. I mean, the dude's always smiling, right? Hey, it's me, Jimmy! If you were to judge him based on his TV persona, which is all we have to go on, you would think Jimmy Fallon is the nicest boss in America. The dude seems harmless. He seems like the type of man who screams like a girl when he sees a roach and asks his emotional support goat to eat it. But if we're to believe this report from the Rolling Stone, behind the scenes, Jimmy Fallon is a ruthless dictator. The Rolling Stone, they spoke with 16 people who work for Jimmy Fallon on The Tonight Show. 14 were former employees, 2 are current employees. They are accusing Jimmy Fallon of creating a toxic work environment. Well, KC, are they talking about toxic masculinity? Of course not. Have you seen Jim Fallon? Does he remind you of a toxically masculine male? Hell, Rachel Levine has more masculinity than Jim Fallon, and Rach is choosing to identify as a woman. Employees describe the atmosphere of being chaotic. People are walking on eggshells. There is no stability in the workplace. Every day they enter the office, they don't know if they're going to get the jovial Jimmy or they're going to get bitter Jim. Several of these staffers claimed working for The Tonight Show had a negative impact on their mental health. And 3 of them claimed that their work environment on The Tonight Show was so toxic, the way they were treated by Jim Fallon was so bad, they were contemplating taking their own life. seems a bit extreme. Now, I'm not trying to discount their feelings. Oh, feelings. Nothing more important than feelings. I'm not trying to discount their feelings, but harming yourself over a job? Many of these former employees are claiming that the erratic behavior of Jim Fallon, it can be attributed to alcohol. Now, this is one of the parts of this report that I have no problem believing. There have been rumors for years now that Jimmy Fallon is an alcoholic. If I remember correctly, and don't quote me on this, but if I remember correctly, I want to say at one point his struggles with alcohol were causing problems in his own marriage. So it doesn't surprise me that his struggles would cause problems at work too. The Tonight Show is a high pressure job, and when your ratings qualify you for the upcoming Huge Embarrassing Failure Awards, the combination of alcohol and embarrassing failure, that is a recipe for disaster for how you treat your employees. Anytime I see reports like this about a celebrity alleging mistreatment or toxic behavior, I always approach the report with an abundance of skepticism. Oftentimes, celebrities, they are targets for allegations like this. People looking to play the role of the victim, looking for a quick come up. I was even more skeptical with this report from the Rolling Stone when I saw that Jerry Seinfeld was already refuting some of these claims an hour, 1 hour, after this report was published. According to Rolling Stone, Jerry Seinfeld was a witness to some of this so-called erratic behavior from Jimmy Fallon. When Seinfeld was a guest on the show, Jim Fallon allegedly scolded one of the crew members who was in charge of the cue cards. Now, this allegedly happened while the show was filming. This allegedly happened in front of a live studio audience. The crew member claims that Jimmy Fallon only apologized because Jerry Seinfeld forced him to do so. An hour after the Rolling Stone published this story, Jerry Seinfeld came out and basically said, "That is bullshit." His exact words were an idiotic twisting of events. I happen to agree. You mean to tell me something egregious like this happened while the show was being filmed in front of a live studio audience and none of us found out about it until now? In this era of heightened sensitivity, you expect me to believe that? A public figure can't fart in the wind without someone filming the exiting gas. And you expect me to believe that hundreds of people witnessed this exchange and they all kept their mouths shut? I ain't biting into that shit sandwich. However, that does not mean the rest of this report from the Rolling Stone doesn't have merit. Jimmy Fallon's been hosting The Tonight Show since 2014, 9 years. And he's been through 9 showrunners. Now, I'll admit, I am not familiar with the turnover behind the scenes. I don't know how long your average showrunner remains on one show, but going through 9 showrunners in 9 years? That seems to be excessive. According to this report from the Rolling Stone, the showrunners, they were also accused of being bullies and creating a toxic work environment. Rolling Stone, they contacted every showrunner that worked for Jimmy Fallon. Since they were allegedly bullies too, maybe Rolling Stone was checking to see if any of them would publicly support Jimmy Fallon against these allegations. Now, out of 9 showrunners, you know how many had Jim's back? None. 0. That is absolutely damning. You mean to tell me you have 16 employees speaking out against you and you can't find one person to come to your defense? That ain't good. Rolling Stone, they contacted NBC for a comment on these allegations, and they received your typical corporate response. "We are proud of The Tonight Show. At the same time, we value our employees and want to foster a safe work environment. Here at NBC, we are all about the safe space. If our employees have a problem, we encourage them to contact Human Resources." According to Rolling Stone, that is exactly what happened. These disgruntled employees, they did contact Human Resources. Guess what happened? Not a damn thing. Matter of fact, one of the reps in Human Resources allegedly denigrated one of the complaining employees to their own boss. Apparently, the complaint box at NBC works just like the complaint box in the WNBA dump. An employee submits a complaint, and a dump diver in HR puts the paper to good use when they run out of toilet paper. In this insincere statement from NBC, there was one glaring omission. Not one time did NBC mention Jimmy Fallon by name. So, what does that mean? Does this mean Jimmy Fallon could lose his job as the host of The Tonight Show? Well, it would give NBC the perfect excuse to let him go. Over the last couple of years, ratings for The Tonight Show absolutely suck. Huge, embarrassing failure. Now, you got to remember, this show was the #1 show in late night television for decades. Johnny Carson, #1. Jay Leno, #1. For a while, when NBC was allowing Jimmy Fallon to be Jimmy Fallon, The Tonight Show remained #1. Now, he is consistently beaten by the other huge, embarrassing failure, Jimmy Kimmel, the Jimmy famous for being the butt bongo partner of Howard Stern. Now, luckily for Jimmy Fallon, this writer's strike doesn't appear to be ending anytime soon, so no new episodes will air for the ratings to tank, but this still ain't good. This same thing happened a few years ago to Ellen DeGeneres. Just like Jimmy Fallon, Ellen DeGeneres was viewed as the fun-loving, jovial host. She was loved by everyone. She had the #1 show on daytime TV. She had all these woke celebrity friends. All of a sudden, allegations emerged about a toxic work environment. All those woke celebrity friends turned their back on her. Ratings began to plummet. Fast forward 18 or so months later, Ellen DeGeneres officially canceled. The problem for Jimmy Fallon, his ratings can't go any lower. He's barely drawing 1 million viewers right now. If ratings get any lower, he's going to be competing with The Daily Show of failure on Comedy Central. Like I said, I'm always skeptical about things like this, but most of the time, where there's smoke, there's fire. I'm sure some of these allegations against Jimmy Fallon are being exaggerated. I'm sure some of them are just completely false, but I think the overall sentiment behind these allegations, I think the overall sentiment is probably true. Rolling Stone contacted 50 former employees of The Tonight Show before publishing this report. 50 former employees they contacted. Not one came to the defense of Jimmy Fallon. What do you think? Do you believe these allegations? Do you think this could be the end of Jimmy Fallon on The Tonight Show? Hell, his future was already in doubt because his ratings absolutely suck. But could these allegations send Jimmy Fallon to the woke cemetery? You let me know. Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys tomorrow.